When I was asked to join this video series, I thought it was a bit of a strange request. Still considering I'd grown up around Cajuns and had been asked to translate for Fred at the container yards over at Bubba's Cup more than once, I guess I was the number one choice. If you're looking for a snack for your gaming table, one that will always get some attention, it's the Kraken. A twice-fried pig-fat delight that is dangerous to make for the unprepared, destroys any diet, and will absolutely be devoured before you check the last door for traps. So here's my best crackling recipe, just in time for crackling week. Now, the best way to cook cracklings is fat in fat. You're going to need a 20-quart black iron pot, a long-handled ladle, and enough protective clothing to provide at least armor class 7. You're boiling pig fat. It's going to pop. Get yourself 6 pounds of hog fat back, cut into 3/4 by 4-inch strips, enough hog lard to fill that pot up just right, lots of salt, and your favorite seasoning. I recommend the house seasoning from Kelly's Coon-Ass Kitchen, but you do you. Now set this all up outside, because you ain't cooking this inside, because some couillon's going to try to do that's going to set off every fire alarm in the house, and maybe burn it down. Start that fire low, add your fat back, and enough lard to fill the pot to 3/4 of the way down. Cooking this way is going to release all that water held in that fat back, so make sure you got eye protection, because it's going to pop. Heat until you get it about 225, 275, and check the temp every once in a while, because all that pig fat's going to make that pot get hotter. Stir about every 3 minutes for an hour, scooping out the fat if it gets too close to the top. Then scoop everything out and put it on a metal rack. You done the easy part, now it's time to really cook them. Heat the pot back up to 375 to 400 and add all them cracklings back in. If you cook them just once, they're going to get tough and hard to eat. You don't want that. You got to do it again, and you can make them crisp and crackling. Once you add the cracklings back in, kill the heat and stir the pot. They're going to turn a rich brown color, and that's when you know you're done. Scoop out the pieces that are finished until the whole batch is cooked. Season generously with some salt and the seasoning, you got enough cracklings to feed 4 to 6 people. Who am I kidding? You're going to eat all these yourself. So have somebody with you to keep you from gorging on these little treats. And that's how you bring cracklings to your D&D table. Glenn! Wait, hold on, my phone's going off. Shmai, Glenn Dewey, Pudaki. Yeah, it's me. Yeah, no, I never answer in English if I don't recognize the number. What? I'm just making the crackling video. It's kind of short, but it gives me more time to cook. What? Kraken? With a K. 2 Ks. No L. The big squid. Not the southern fried pork snack? I mean, yeah, I can talk about that instead, but who brings calamari as a snack to their D&D game? Fine, I'll remake the video in a new and more expensive fashion. Okay, but I'm not sharing my cracklings. So, I might have completely misunderstood the assignment. Starting over. The tale of the big honking fish is one of the oldest stories of mankind. From the Bible with Jonah and the whale, to maps labeled Here There Be Monsters for Terra Incognito. We have given names to these terrible creatures that cannot be defeated, such as Kraken, Leviathan, Behemoth, Charybdis, Monstro, Moby Dick, Danny. They serve as story elements as well as monsters. They have one purpose, often a plot-mandated one. If you find the beast, it's there to eat you, smash your ship, strand you, or keep you out of a specific area. It's a great way to change the pace, get you to an adventure, or become the adventure itself. Done wrong, and the players are going to complain about the railroad it presents. Done right, you've got a table who's probably read the Odyssey and understands precisely the literary mechanic you're invoking. Here are some ways to present the latter, but not the former. Before you go and add a gigantic aquatic plot device to your game, first ask yourself why. There's a lot of reasons to do this. You've got the roadblock. You need the party to avoid going one particular way. The adventure seed. You need the party to stop here so they can go and play your module. As a speed bump, the monster has to slow the party down. In the toll booth, the beast will take something of value from the party because the story demands it. Typically their ship. In the whale story, the adventurer is going inside of the monster. And then there's the force of nature. The party has to survive its attack, as defeating the monster isn't going to be possible. After deciding why you are using this plot device that can blot out the sun, you get to determine what monster is suitable for the job. Since water displaces weight, you have some genuinely huge options. They are not all good for every one of the options I just gave you, but they can serve in most capacities. If you want to go straight for the biggest, the Marine Leviathan from Astara is a ship-eating nightmare from the depths. It swallows entire parties whole. It's a 600-foot-long vacuum cleaner that can eat ships. The size of the ship depends on the edition. In Beckme, it can eat up to small galleys, and in 5th edition it's entire warships. Because the rules for naval combat in the latest edition makes the wooden ships and iron men players cry. Blood. I've seen it. Note that the Mystara Leviathan is not to be confused with the recent lesser creature with the same name, which is a giant water elemental snake with only 20 hit dice compared to the staggering 70 for the Mystara one. That one can still wreck a ship, but it won't stop your players from snickering at it for being so tiny. Then you've got the rest, the giant whale, the giant octopus, the Kraken itself, which has multiple versions. There's a few huge dinosaur-type sea creatures, the ancient dragon turtles, sea serpents if you make them big enough, and even sea dragons if you make them even bigger. There's plenty to select from, though most are just smart enough to decide whether something is food. The Kraken tops the list regarding intelligence, and it's a rather steep drop-off after that. If the monster is going to threaten the party in any way short of just flattening them or eating them, then it's probably going to be the Kraken. A critical aspect of your story is that the party should not be surprised by these monsters. Maybe their attack, but the most enormous creatures will be known by reputation if nothing else. Odysseus knew well in advance about the dangers of Charybdis, because gigantic sea monsters have the darndest time staying anonymous. If the party is sailing into waters where one of these giants live, they should be expecting it. Maybe they think the monster can be tricked, avoided, or somehow placated. Most of the time, they will be wrong. When the creature can destroy the party's ship with a wave caused by just breaching the surface, the characters will realize they're not in the same weight class. But enough hyping the monsters, let's get to the plot elements. Roadblocks keep the party from having too easy of a time. You can let the party get so far in fast travel mode, but then they're going to need to find another route because the big fish is going to eat their boat. This was a plot element in the module Quagmire, because it would be a short and boring adventure if the party's ship was allowed to proceed to the destination. The monster appears, destroys or damages the ship, and then the characters have to find a new way to reach their destination. If it's the party's ship, don't completely sink it unless they're really dumb. But if it's somebody else's vessel, get ready to man the lifeboats. If you want to get the idea across that they need to find another way, but you don't want to destroy their ship, have them watch the monster eat somebody else first. That should make your point. Especially if the big bad war galleon and right in front of them decides to put up a fight and get splintered in seconds. You're not trying to kill the party, just their conveyance. Adventure seeds have the monster keeping the party in a particular spot so you can have your adventure. When the party gets to the mystical island, the legendary creature pops his head out of the water and the players are now trapped until they finish the adventure. You don't have to destroy their ship or even damage it. When the monster is several times larger than the transport, it does mean it won't be able to reach it in shallow water. Your sea monster gets to wait outside the lagoon for you to come out and play. Or they go inside the Crypt of Spookiness, kill the bad guy, and the force drawing the sea monster close goes away, and the party can leave. In this case, the monster will be strictly for show. But it's a common thematic element in a lot of similar stories and modules. The speed bump is used when you need to slow the characters down so an element of the story can happen. This time they might have been able to drive off the monster, but not before it does crippling damage to their ship, which of course reduces its speed. This is useful in a chase scenario where the rivals are meant to win, or if you need the party to take a side trip to a friendly port for repairs. That's an excellent way to introduce replacement characters. They're going to be waiting on the docks while the party is shopping for new sails or having the masts repaired. This is more of a cameo appearance. The monster appears, does its job, and then leaves for whatever reason you can come up with. The damage doesn't need to be massive. If a sea serpent punches a hole in the hull, it could flood the food supplies rather than founder the ship. Then the party has to make a plot-sponsored pit stop before returning to our regularly scheduled adventure. Toll booth monsters are there to take a pound of flesh. You're not beating them, you're surviving them. Ishmael had his ship taken away by Moby Dick. Scylla ate 6 of Odysseus' crew because the other option was to get his entire ship eaten. If you have more than one ship, the Leviathan is going to eat one as a warning. This is common in survival-style games where the supplies matter, and losing them has weight. If you're using a giant sea monster for this, decide beforehand what it's going to destroy, and then spring it on the party as a surprise. Their efforts might not stop the beast, but it might save some lives or cargo. Think of the giant octopus grabbing crew from the ship's deck, or unleashing smaller monsters from its body for the party to take care of. The whale story goes back to Jonah, but it's a standard element in a lot of tales. Baron Munchausen had a tavern in the stomach of its sea monster, and Monstros swallowed Pinocchio. You're going to need to make some house rules for this one, so it's not just the party gets eaten and starts taking acid damage next round. The monster will be huge, and probably a custom one at that. Its stomach is going to need to be survivable somehow for this to work. If you want to go all Fantastic Voyage, the adventure has the party running around inside of the monster. The most common theme in this style is the party has to get out of it, so they need to find something to make the creature expel them. Start a fire, find lots of pepper, or tickle some part of it until it sneezes, coughs, or otherwise spits you out. The monster isn't the adventure hook, the monster is the adventure location. Then we get to the natural disaster. This is a full-on monster attack that the party will not win. The sole purpose is to survive the creature and escape, as the ship and the crew are doomed. So pretty much every other lone wolf novel. Seriously, don't get on a boat with that guy. One fantastic example would be Pirates of the Caribbean. Well, the second one. The Kraken attacks, and every crew member with a name on the Black Pearl has to escape as it eats every background extra and then destroys the ship. Then the writers realized they didn't know what to do with it and beached it in a throwaway scene in the next movie, making the rest of the series Kraken-lackin'. Not the best example of screenwriting there, Hollywood. This scene must be done in parts, as it's not a straight-up monster fight. The party is dealing with individual tentacles, or the monster is fighting the ship itself, and the party's weapons aren't even going to scratch it. You throw in scheduled scenes like parts of the ship collapsing, lots of skill checks, chances for heroic saves, and saving throws galore. But in the end, the party is going to lose. At least they get a ton of XP for not dying. That's a half a dozen plot points to use with your supersized seafood buffets. They all have their uses, and are classic elements of stories going back thousands of years. There's a reason for that. They work. When the hero can't defeat the monster, it has to be dealt with in an unorthodox manner. This typically increases the threat to the characters. The greater the threat, the greater the thrill. And for all those players that just pooled all their money to buy their new galleon Shippy McShipface, I am so sorry. DMs, you can make it up to them with some nice, fresh, piping hot cracklings.